Alongside Jarom Jordan, I am Spencer Linton. This is your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I am very excited to discuss the de facto Pac-12 South Championship with none other than ESPN college football insider, analyst, and expert Trevor Matich for another Matich Monday. Trevor, welcome back to the program. How do you feel about the changes to the studio and our apparel today?
You know, I'm seeing you guys sporting the colors, but I'm seeing some text back there that is disturbing to me. Pac-12 South champions. That may be true, but don't you understand there are some things that can be true that should not be spoken out loud. BYU has to try to schedule these teams in the future, even as non-conference teams when they hit the Big 12. What are you trying to do? Ruin that relationship? They're already ruining it enough by beating them all, by wiping the floor with Pac-12 South teams, by making sure that they are superior to every Pac-12 team they played this year. That should be enough. And you guys are trying to make it worse.
Stanford and Cal.
Stanford
and Cal have had an issue with BYU since the 60s. Ain't no banner going to ruin that. You know what I'm saying? No, but we're mostly kidding, but it has been fun to see sort of the Ute fan reaction at this because that's the thing.
Yeah.
But BYU goes 5-0.
Yeah, and mostly kidding is right, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, when you win, you can say it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeremy. I interrupted you.
No, you work at ESPN.
When you win,
I work at BYU TV. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Believe me, this is your show, and I appreciate being on it. So, but the thing is, from a standpoint of the fans that are out there right now, the three of us are kind of representing them. All this is great. This is really, really fun. But I think Kalani Sitake and the program is taking it exactly the right way. They're doing nothing but expressing appreciation that those Pac-12 teams would schedule them, because this is a really tough non-conference schedule. Normally when you're scheduling non-conference and you're a Power 5 team, you're trying to schedule down as far as you can go so you can stay healthy and you can get young guys a lot of experience because you hope to get up ahead by a lot. Instead, they schedule BYU, which last year and this year has turned into a top 15 program, and that's the kind of thing that's BYU's appreciative that they would do that. And so that's something that they should do. From a fan standpoint, hey, knock yourself out. Have as much fun as you want. Because if you win, you can talk.
Trevor Matich with us on BYU Sports Nation. The Cougars, as you mentioned, take care of business for the most part against all 7 Power 5 opponents. 6-1 in that record, 5-0 against the Pac-12. Yet it took kind of a last man standing type performance against USC. There was so much attrition, so many injuries. Trevor, what did you think of BYU enduring the Coliseum and just finding a way to win?
I think this might be their best win of the season. I think this has been maybe the best coaching job I've seen out of BYU in a long, long time because of those injuries and because the injuries stacked up over the course of the season. We've talked a lot about teams that are not in the Power 5. Typically, the best ones will have really good starting lineups and a few people in depth that are also very good, but it falls off a lot because they're not recruiting to a Power 5 schedule, and they aren't able to get those guys. And BYU has recruited well enough, but they've developed well enough that when they've had so many starters down, backups to starters down, they've still been able to make the plays that they need to make. And that's a matter of culture within the program. It's a matter of development of young players by the coaching staff. And it's a matter of situational football. And I think that's what you guys are referring to, especially at the end of this game, where BYU's defense needed 2 massive stops, a 3-and-out after an interception, and then that terrific 4th down stop about a yard short of the line of game down in the shadow of the goal line with USC going in to possibly win the game, that BYU was able to manufacture because they were in the right place at the right time. That's situational football. So that's a combination of young players really stepping up, but also coaches getting them ready and putting them in position to make plays like that. This, to me, this one game is the epitome of the best of what college football coaches can do with young players that they didn't expect to play at the beginning of the season.
Let's name names in that. Caleb Hayes was incredible on that last drive with 1 pass breakup, 1 pass defended, and then the game-winning tackle with Drew Jensen right there. And then you had Jackson McChesney, who tore his Liz Frank against Navy in 2020, has been the third string, had like 10 carries coming into this game. All of a sudden, he comes in, he gets 7-7, and then the game-winning touchdown, and that was incredible. And then maybe the play of the game is Dallin Holker picking up the Tyler Algier fumble, rumbling for 22 yards. That's not technically a carry for him, but it's 22 yards, which is a weird statistical anomaly. Those 3 moments really stuck out to me of, hey, next man up, we got to win. I know it's USC. They're 4-6 over there, but we got to make some plays here. And BYU did. It was awesome.
So why did Hayes make that stop? Because he was in perfect position. He read the route correctly. He was in the right position. That's a hard catch to stop, but you can tackle him right there. And it looked to me, I've got to go back and look, but I couldn't tell by what I saw on the TV. But it looked to me like Hayes kind of forced that route to be a little bit shorter than the receiver wanted it to be. I want to go back and look at it from a different perspective if I can get some coaches' film. But it looked like that receiver was trying to get just beyond the line to gain, and he couldn't get there. That's what it appeared to be. So either way, Hayes was in perfect position. Why was Holker in position to scoop that ball up and run with it? Because he was hustling. He was doing what he was supposed to do. Nobody takes a play off on this team. Nobody. And that's one of the reasons that when there's a play that has to be made and they make it, it's because there were 40 other times when they hustled and there wasn't a play there to be made. And nobody noticed that hustle except the coaches on tape. And they praise them for it and they grade them up for it. And then they hustle again on the 41st time and the play is there. And then we do notice it. But really, it's all those other times when nobody notices because nothing happened, but they did the same thing. The ball just didn't bounce their way. And that, again, is good coaching of young players to put them in position.
It's interesting you bring up the Caleb Hayes scenario and wanting to look back at that because he told me in the postgame that was all film study. I anticipated that they were going to go to the quick slant there based on formation, and he read it the right way. So I'm interested to hear what you find when you review that film. As we push forward, Trevor, and look at BYU moving into the postseason at 10-2, obviously things didn't go really well out of BYU's control for them to feel comfortable about a New Year's Six. But maybe Oklahoma State beats up on Baylor, and the Bears with 3 losses open up an opportunity for BYU as the last team in. What, if the New Year's Six is not in the cards, what non-New Year's Six bowl game do you feel like would fit BYU?
Well, you're looking at Independence Bowl against Texas San Antonio, which would be a really fun game. It's not financially the same kind of ballpark, but it would be a really fun game to watch because that team is really strong. And if it turns out to be that way, then we can really look forward to a great send-off and a very entertaining bowl game. But when you look at the possibilities for New Year's Six, a couple things needed to happen ahead of BYU. I don't mind the BYU won by 4 points against USC because I think the committee, with their football experience, will understand the injuries that went on. And really very famously, that Tyler Algier just wasn't able to go at the end of that game-winning touchdown drive. He just couldn't do it. He couldn't even hold on to the ball. And yet he did his best. He gave everything he had. And that shines a light on all the backups that had to play on both sides of the ball. And I think the committee will notice that. So I don't mind that part, that they didn't blow out USC. But ahead of them, some things needed to happen. One is that Michigan State needed to lose. In last week's playoff ranking, BYU at number 13, Michigan State at number 12, and they played Penn State. And that was actually a bad matchup for Michigan State because Penn State has a great passing attack. Michigan State, not a good passing defense. And so I thought Penn State might pull it out, but they didn't. The Spartans won that game, so they'll stay ahead of BYU. But here's a couple things. Wisconsin lost, so they're not going to be a danger of jumping BYU from behind. Texas A&M lost. They're not in danger of jumping BYU from behind. Iowa's a possibility if they win the Big Ten championship. We'll see. But Oregon sits there at number 11. They've already lost to Utah. If they lose to Utah again in the Pac-12 championship game, that's a team that BYU beat. And BYU will finish ahead of Oregon. That puts BYU theoretically up to 12 if we do this math. Baylor beat BYU. Both Baylor and BYU now have 2 losses. But if Oklahoma State has a convincing win over Baylor, it gives them their 3rd loss. And that head-to-head doesn't come into the committee's projections until at the end of the process as a tiebreaker if they can't differentiate teams by other means. And so they may look at 3-loss Baylor and 2-loss BYU and disregard head-to-head and put BYU ahead. Now, we don't know if that'll happen. We'll find out basically tomorrow. But we'll see how this ranking works. Also, Oklahoma sits there at number 10. They just lost to Oklahoma State. That's their 2nd loss, both of them to top 10 teams. BYU's 2nd loss was not to a top 10 team, it was to Boise State, but BYU has a better win than Oklahoma does. Oklahoma, I don't think, has beaten anybody that's currently in the top 25.
Right.
BYU beat Utah. And so that might give the committee an opportunity to put BYU ahead of Oklahoma. So there's still some dominoes that can fall in BYU's favor to get them into the top 10. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, the shakeout will be interesting. How would you define this season? for BYU. 10-2, one of the most remarkable, in our opinion, in BYU history. 7 Power Fives. Like, they did it. They lined up and they won 10 games against an incredibly difficult schedule.
It is, to me, one of the most, I think remarkable is a great word, one of the most remarkable seasons in the history of this program. I mean, last year was super weird because all the Power 5 schools were taken off the schedule. They went 11-1 with the second pick of the draft at quarterback, and it was a phenomenal season. The hard part then was to lose so many guys to the NFL, including Zach Wilson, quarterback, and replace those guys and now come into they have 7 Power 5 opponents this year.
Yep.
And they beat 6 of them, right? They beat 6 of them to go 10-2 in the regular season. And when you look at that, sustaining it with all those guys gone, I mean, guys that were in training camps for the NFL, and then having to replace them with younger guys is a testament to the way that they've recruited, the culture to which they've recruited, and the way that they develop those young players. And then to be able to sustain this kind of winning, not a winning streak, but this kind of winning ways with so many backups having to come in and play. And let's not forget to mention Ben Bywater at linebacker, who had to come in for the best player probably on that defense. And he has done great as a freshman. He's done phenomenally well. As you know, he's made some mistakes and stuff, but he's going to be a star going forward. One of those guys who kind of gets lost in the shuffle because he's been playing for so long now when Keenan Peely went out. And so I think that when you put all that stuff together and you look at 10-2 right now, if you were to say before the season that they would go from 0 Power 5 opponents to 7, they would lose their starting quarterback plus a bunch of other guys to the NFL. And on top of that, they would have a whole bunch of injuries and a whole bunch of young guy injuries on top of injuries. If you said 10-2 would be the final result, they'd think you were absolutely out of your mind. And yet that's what they've accomplished.
And that's why we're hanging banners in Studio B and wearing T-shirts. The T-shirt's in the mail, Trevor. We're sending one to you, man. Thanks for the time.
It's great to talk to you guys. Don't get hit by a flying burrito.
We won't. Thanks, Trevor. ESPN's Trevor Matich on BYU Sports Nation. No flying burritos.
Luckily, no food was thrown. Just chants that the university apologized for.
Oh, boy. Yes, they did.
Or chant, I guess.